Hello world, welcome one, welcome all, welcome to another exciting episode of the Europe in Ruins CarrotCast. We got another very special episode for you here today. And while most of the time I say we've got a very special episode because it's a very close game, comes down to the wire, you don't know who's going to win it to the last minute, that sort of thing, although that is the case for this game, this episode is also a special episode because... well, this is the third time I've had to record it, but I figured that was the problem, and I solved it, so now hopefully we're going to have the best audio and the best video quality we have had so far on the CarrotCast, and I really hope you guys appreciate it, because boy, that was a lot of work. But alright, yeah, we do have a really wonderful game for you here today, sent in by a community member, so thank you so much for that. If you have a replay that you would like me to cast on the show, please go ahead and send that in. Either send it as a message to me or post it in our Shoutcasts channel or in our replays channel on our Discord, and I will give those a look. Now, today we have a 3 versus 3 on Neuville, which is pretty much one of the most balanced games you can possibly get. Neuville is the most popular map in Europe in Ruins by a long shot, and that's because it's just a really great map. Now, a lot of you will recognize this. It is actually a modified version of Semois, the 1 versus 1 auto match map from Company of Heroes. So it has a lot of similarities, a lot of the same balancing, so it makes for a very even game. Now, today we have on the Axis seat TovarishTanker. He is going to be playing his Blitzkrieg company, as well as Punkmaster and X1 Alpha, who will both be running Terror Doctrines. Now, on the Allies side, we've got Scaffa, who's playing under the pseudonym DwightEisenhowie, so we'll see just how many howitzers he actually has in his infantry company this game. We've also got PrinceOfScotland, who's going to be playing Royal Canadian Infantry and checking out all the neat things they got going on, and a new guy, Murphy397, who's also going to be playing Infantry Doctrine. Now, this is going to be an allied attack game, so Axis are going to have about 2 minutes to set up, dig in, set up their defenses, and await the Allied onslaught. Meanwhile, the Allies are going to have a slight population advantage for being the attackers to even things out a little bit. And we'll see just how it plays out. Now, right off the start, we have TovarishTanker coming on. Remember, he's playing Blitzkrieg. Coming on with several squads of infantry. He's got a nice variety of infantry and a Panzer IV tank. This is a very solid, very balanced starting call on. Punkmaster's also bringing out a motorcycle first and foremost to scout the forward positions, but remember, this is an allied attack mode, so there's no allies on the field quite yet. He's got a little bit of infantry. Where is it? Here they are, coming up behind, so hopefully he'll be able to grab some territory and dig in just a little bit before the allies get here. And of course, X1 Alpha starting off with a really strong start, starting off with a Panther and two interesting infantry squads. This first one is Volksgrenadiers 1945. They're a special 4-man Volksgrenadier squad with STG-44s, and they're actually able to fire a Panzerfaust volley ability, so they're very effective against armor that is vulnerable to a Panzerfaust, and also some Blau Grenadiers, Azul Division Grenadiers, as you see here. These are also a Terror Doctrinal unlock, and they're basically Volksgrenadiers with heroic armor. So they don't have very effective damage output. However, they are very tough troops, so they'll be able to hold the line quite likely. Now, it does look like Tovarish is setting up some wire over here. This is going to be very effective for preventing any sort of backcapping or flanks. So that's good there. They've got that flank a little bit covered. Meanwhile, they've got 1 second till the Allies are on, so hopefully they can scurry back up to the front and form a nice defensive line. The Axis have a little bit more than half of the map at this point, so we'll see if they're able to press the territorial advantage. Royal Canadian Infantry were dropping, I believe that was infantry, was dropping some sort of recon flare here, so they're actually able to spot the enemies close to this flare. Meanwhile, the Axis send by a Stuka recon run to try to see just what the Axis, or what the Allies are going to be calling on. Unfortunately, it was a bit early, so all it was able to reveal was the Staghound. Yeah, you can see Tovarish here. nice stag hound. Indeed. But they're not going to quite be able to see what the Allies are coming at them with. So we'll see just how they respond to that. Let's turn off Fog of War here so we can see entirely what's happening here. Here we go. So this is what Prince of Scotland has. 2 infantry sections with Brens. Now these are actually upgraded squads that have a 3rd Bren light machine gun in them. So they've got very, very high damage output. And there's also a captain squad that's going to be buffing everything around it with a nice little defensive buff. 6-pounder AT gun is going to be moving up for the Brits anti-tank. And the Staghound armored car cannot be underestimated. This machine gun top is killer, and it's got a decent 37mm cannon. Murphy's coming up on this flank with an AT gun. Another recon run coming by. This one much more effective at spotting what the Allies have. Yeah, you can see that was just beautiful. And here's Scaffa over here with his rifles. Scaffa playing infantry is very, very potent because he's very effective at flanking and bat capturing, and 6-man rifle squads are absolutely perfect for that, especially when you throw these infantry doctor buffs on them. So we've got an early engagement here. Scaffa gets a real cheeky jeep coming in behind this HMG, puts out a decent amount, actually is able to take down one of the models on this HMG, so that is very effective play on this point. He's pulling the jeep back. Meanwhile, the Allies are pushing on this flank. It's 4 squads versus 2 squads, so the Allies are going to be making a decent amount of headway. However, it looks like the Axis are pulling back quite a bit, and now these riflemen are actually on their own, facing down an HMG, a Knight's Cross squad, and an LMG Grenadier squad. Along the front, 6-pounder is able to get some good shots off on the Panzer IV, and the Panther is going to be engaging the infantry on this flank. Artillery is coming down over here. I believe that's right around here, probably on the HMG, and it is. So where did that come from? That may very well have been a officer's artillery barrage, which Royal Canadian Infantry do indeed get on their officers. Knights Crossholders are able to take out a rifle squad, but they themselves go down to these Brens. That was 6 LMGs firing on 1 Knights Crossholder squad. They just simply were not going to survive that. Let's see if this pack can get away in time. Meanwhile, Allied infantry push. 2 rifle squads coming up on this hay bale for some cover. Scaffa's going to be moving his troops up just a little bit. This Panzerschreck squad is going to be in a lot of trouble. However, Tavarish brings out a Flammenwerfer half-track to counter some of this Allied infantry. Not a bad call, but Scaffa also has a 90mm M36 Jackson, which is just going to be making short work of any armor, any vehicles that the Axis are going to have. Looks like the Panther's coming across the field to try to counter that Jackson there, but he needs to be very wary of these AT guns down here. Looks like a Panzerschreck squad goes down, but the Blau Grenadiers are going to pick up that Panzerschreck, deny it to the Allies, and this is a very useful squad to have a Panzerschreck on, given their tankiness. That Panzerschreck's going to stay in the fight a while. Another recon run just to see what the Allies have along the front while the Axis further commit. I guess they like what they see, and they are now pushing in. An artillery barrage on the recently revealed troops. Here we go. It's a firestorm from one of the Terror players. It's almost able to take out that 6-pounder. It's able to force them all off the position. Looks like the captain is going to be forced off. He just barely survives. But here sets up an AT gun. Here comes a Jackson. So this Axis armor could be in a lot of trouble. But no, the Jackson falls back and the AT gun goes down. We've got 157mm here who's going to be getting good flanking shots on these Axis tanks. However, yeah, with this building between them, now the Jackson is going to have to come over. The Jackson's forced to commit. The Staghound's just barely going to get away. Jackson takes a hit, so does the Panzer IV. Panzer IV's got to get back or he's going to be in a lot of trouble. And oh no, Alpha takes a sticky bomb from Scaffa's rifleman, and he gets immobilized right there, and you can see the power of the Jackson right there. Now the Jackson is down to maybe a quarter health, if that. However, it's able to secure a kill on a Panther, so it has done a very excellent job, and hopefully he'll be able to pull it back to repair, which is exactly what I think he's doing right now. Allied HMG is able to secure this front, at least momentarily, against the Axis onslaught. STG-44s, especially scoped STG-44s, are great for assaulting positions like this, but not when it's one squad against many. The Axis are going to have to pull back a little bit and consolidate their positions. Looks like these Volksgrenadiers are going to take a beating. They might be a bit of a sacrificial pawn in this engagement. So finally, 5 minutes into the match, and we have our first brief respite. Axis are going to be consolidating while they call more troops on. Allies are going to be inching forward, trying to finally grab some territory, finally take that advantage away from the Axis. As you can see, the Axis do have a significant majority of the map. You can see the population ticks up here. They are going to be earning population at more than twice the rate of the Allies. Another recon run reveals that the Allies are really just kind of sitting back and trying to hold on to what they have. But what that recon run did not see was Scaffa's crazy flank over here. And you can see a Sherman Crocodile is going to be, well, it's going to be the perfect counter to all these infantry squads right around here. Let's see if he's able to get them away. One Volksgrenadier goes down, firing his Panzerfaust, heroically getting one last shot off. These two LMG Grenadiers are able to get away, though, and that's what's important. There's a lot of DPS on these two models here, so he wants to keep them alive, keep them in the fight. Looks like Tovarish is a pretty good job of securing this flank over here. He's even making a little bit of progress moving up, but this Crocodile is finally able to force off this last Volksgrenadier, and Scaffa is going to be effectively capturing 2 sectors at a time until the Axis are able to counter him, which they do not have much to counter. Grenadiers are out in the open. Looks like they got suppressed by something. These Brens are going to mulch them up. The Staghound's going to mulch them up. These Grenadiers should not have gone in without better AT cover. So unfortunately, they're going to go down, having not accomplished too much themselves. Crocodile's in the back line here. He gets real ballsy with this play. He could take out the mortar, but he just doesn't quite. I wonder if the mortar's going to make it. Pack turns around, starts getting shots off. Panzerschreck's going to fire, gets another shot off. And it looks like this mortar is going to be able to survive. Hopefully Alpha's able to make the most of that. Meanwhile, Staghound is coming in as well. Let's see how this armor fares. The Pack 50mm goes down. Okay, that Crocodile does go down, so he's not able to get away. However, these Axes are going to keep running it. Never mind, Tovarish is actually able to take out this 57mm with a single bike, which just opens up this avenue for the Panzer IVs to push in. But this Panzer IV out of Punkmaster is extremely beat up, which would make it very vulnerable to this Jackson as well as to this AT gun. The Axis grab the AT gun, but that's not going to serve him too well for too long. Meanwhile, Scaffa is continuing to push along this flank. Oop. Slowly capturing these sectors, and they're just about to turn the territorial gains into their favor. Another brief lull as the Allies pull back to heal and repair their vehicles. A lot of push and counter-push so far. But the Panzer IV finds a half-track. He engages it, he's able to force it off. Shot from the Pack. Half-track goes down. And here comes the Jackson. Very expertly placed right behind this pedge, so this 50mm would not be able to get a shot off. However, he does force the Panzer IV back. Tovarish knows he can't go head-to-head with the Jackson, so he's got to reposition to somewhere a little more favorable. Both sides now have infantry in the center sector, so it will remain neutral until somebody is forced off. We'll see just how that plays out. This more southern flank of the engagement seems to be a lot more active and a lot more concentration of forces. Meanwhile, this further flank seems to be mostly about capturing and counter-capturing. Another ear-splitting recon run, but that one goes down. So close indeed. Close to taking out these squads, close to taking out this 57mm AT gun, close to taking out the 6-pounder, maybe even the triage. But it looks like it goes down in the middle of the field and does nothing but provides a really excellent bit of green cover. Okay, Scaffa has a huge push coming on over here. 3, almost 4 squads of infantry pushing up. And it looks like the Axis just don't quite have the numbers to counter these riflemen. But the real treat is this engagement down here. Another half-track coming, another Flammenwerfer. And it looks like it's not really able to do too much damage before it goes down. So it was an excellent move to buy them some time to force the Allies back. But in terms of actual carnage, it wasn't able to cause too much. So the Allies will slowly recover from that, and they're going to get back in the fight. Meanwhile, the engagement does tick off over here. Panzerschreck versus Jackson, Panzer IV versus Rifleman. We'll see who is able to trade most efficiently. More Riflemen coming in from Murphy. Yeah, these Grenadiers are going to have no choice but to take a step back. And another sticky bomb off on Punkmaster's Panzer IV. Does nothing. Those armored skirts possibly save this tank's life. Avoids some sort of immobilized roll or damaged engine. The Jackson comes in, gets another shot off, but we'll see just if he is able to actually eliminate this Panzer IV. Meanwhile, he has to contend with these Panzerschrecks. And this Jackson is a rare reward unit, so he's only got one of them in his company, and it is very precious to lose one of these things. Not to mention, I believe it is Veterancy 4, or maybe even Veterancy 5. So losing this would be such a huge blow to Scaffa's company. Looks like the Axis have been able to pick off a lot of the Allies and are slowly attritioning them out. But this rifle squad here is able to move up and grab this sector as well as eliminate that infantry. The single Blau Grenadier is not useful for anything more than maybe a little bit of recon and capturing a sector that's forced off. And the Jackson against the Panzer IV. Again, you can see the massive, massive damage potential of this cannon. So far, only one tank kill, that Panther we saw earlier, but the sheer amount of damage it has put out is really something for the Axe to contend with. Another recon flare back here, so the Allies are going to get a little bit of vision on that. So they're going to see just what these Panzers are doing, and they know now is a good time to strike. Rifles coming in back here. Again, excellent flanking work from Scaffa. Throws a quick little grenade, takes out a lot of these Grenadiers, and just as soon as the fight starts turning against them, they're able to back away, put a hedge between them, jump in a little bit of cover, turn this engagement from an unfavorable one to a favorable one. Looks like they're going to get away with that. Further engagements down here. Yeah, these Blau Grenadiers are holding out for dear life in here, but they've got a Staghound and 2 Bren squads firing at them, so they will not last long. This Panzerschreck needs to fire. He's going to get in the house and take that shot. And that is a good hit. That Staghound almost taken out of the fight. We'll see if he has another repair kit on it or if this is going to be his last hurrah. Over on this flank, looks like some INR infantry, recon infantry just got taken out. Infiltration and reconnaissance infantry, excuse me. That is an infantry company doctrinal unit, and they are very excellent at recon and infiltration, as the name implies. They can cloak in cover, and they provide excellent sightlines for the Allies. That Firestorm, well-placed Firestorm, forces the Allies off and takes out the majority of one of these Bren squads, forcing them off. This MG over here is way out of position, about to go down to this Panzer IV. This was an excellent come up for the Axis. However, the Jackson's going to come in and really force this Panzer IV off. You can see just the power, the range, the damage, and the efficiency of this Jackson in engaging with Axis armor. Up here, we've got 2 Panzer IVs against a Stuart light tank flamethrower. And it looks like this poor Stuart Satan is going to go down. Gets 1 infantry kill and then gets taken out of the fight. Although if it does do one thing, it spots these 2 Panzer IVs and keeps them busy for a while this Jackson is able to do fairly effective damage over here. I missed it, looks like a 2nd tank kill on this Jackson so far. So that is kill number 2. We'll see if this tank can become an ace in this one game, getting at least 5 tank kills. Here it's going to engage with the infantry. Engaging infantry is not its strong suit, but it certainly is capable of doing that. Even just on its AoE damage, was able to do a bit of damage to those grenadiers. And I hear artillery firing where? Right back here. The splash from that shell was able to take out the AT gun. The second shell was a direct hit. Just a sliver of health left. We'll see if it survives this barrage. If so, perhaps the Axis can recapture it and continue. Nope. That AT gun is taken out of the fight, and that is one less AT gun at the Axis disposal. This flank is looking very open, very vulnerable. And good old Murphy's doing a little bit of recon and finding that out. So surely the Allies are going to start nibbling away. The Axis are looking to respond, but they're just now getting into the fight. The Axis just barely have a territorial advantage at this point. The Axis themselves are at 35 population. Let's see what the Allies are at. Scaffa is over here at 33. Up to 34, so even with their population advantage from attacking, you can see the actual holding of these sectors have played out in the Axis favor so far. Although it looks like the infantry, looks like Murphy's got a 4.2-inch goon gun mortar in the fight. Very powerful mortar with a large area of effect. 5 infantry kills so far. This thing is just on the field, and it has already done a significant amount of work. Looks like another barrage beginning somewhere in the center here. See that massive AoE, that massive explosion that the goon gun has. Looks like it was focused in on these Blau Grenadiers before they moved up.
Cowards attack our forward base.
2 Panzer IVs versus the Jackson and the Crocodile. Looks like Tovarish pops a blitzkrieg on him. But all this tank is really doing is just blitzkrieging to its death, unfortunately. That did not work out too well. This Panzer IV drives right into an AT gun, right in the Jackson sightlines. Oh no, and it runs over the hedge that could have provided it with a bit of cover. Let's see if it gets away. So it just barely gets away from the AT gun, and the Jackson... Oh, the Jackson has a rare rubber banding bug, so it will not be getting that Panzer IV. However, the Staghound wants to try its luck. First shot bounces, Staghound takes a serious hit. There's a lucky penetration there from that Panzer IV. And an artillery barrage coming in on the infantry back here. So Prince of Scotland with that Canadian artillery misses with its first barrage, but poses a serious threat. Turn your armor, he's got the rear armor to the tank, but he's able to take out the Staghound just in time. Hopefully he'll be able to save this Panzer IV, although it looks like there's a second artillery barrage coming in. There's the 25-pounder firing. And it looks like Murphy has a howitzer himself. So we've got 2 artillery pieces from the Allies, from their infantry and their artillery companies. So no surprise there. The Axis will not be able to dig in with too many defensive positions while that artillery's on the field. However, their armor should hopefully be able to run relatively unopposed. Speaking of armor, X1 Alpha brings out his King Tiger. Drops a Firestorm on the 6-pounder AT gun just in time. Now the King Tiger is able to come in here and have relatively free reign, acting as a mobile bunker in the center here. The Jackson's going to be coming in. We'll see how the Jackson fares against the King Tiger, and I think it'll be pretty well if he's able to get a rear armor hit like that. So the King Tiger takes a shot, takes out the 6-pounder, but the Allies through it, which is good for the King Tiger. Looks like the Axis are pushing along the entire front here. Panzer IV Pushes off some infantry. He's engaging with the Staghound here. So it looks like the Allies are trying to buy some time over here. While the Jackson repositions. King Tiger is wasting his time trying to take out this Jeep. But let's see if he's able to do it. Well, I'm sure this Jeep is going to go down at some point. There we go. Finally goes down. This King Tiger needs to get in here and engage with this Jackson, but the Jackson is going to be able to kite him fairly effectively. Big push over here. Infantry and an HMG. Forces one rifle squad back. And an Axis recon run reveals
They defended the fatherland
the
until
Allied
death.
support position back here. Let's see if they have any artillery left to take it out. It doesn't look like it. If only there was a firestorm that they could use to engage the support line. Quad goes down. Goon Gun up to 8 kills so far. One of my favorite units in the game. It's just so much fun to dick around with. I hear an engagement up here again. The Staghound is trying to push him out of the church. And you can see what an effective defensive structure this church is in the Axis being able to hold the line here.
They have lost a unit.
Another artillery strike from that howitzer. Short range is able to take out 1 or 2 grenadiers. Deal a decent amount of damage. And the Staghound's going to come in to force them back. If they come any closer, they're going to run into that HMG. But the Panzer IV might just get the kill. Oh, that howitzer barrage was effective at first. Lost a decent amount of effectiveness in the middle there. And then actually turned around to being more effective with its final few rounds. Prince of Scotland has a Firefly out. And the King Tiger seems to be engaging with the Cromwell command tank, which is not the most efficient use of that King Tiger for sure. Jackson and HMG holding line down here. Axis are going to have a difficult time pushing on through here. This Panzer IV wipes out that AT gun, so the Allies will not be able to recapture it. Good move. Good move. It looks like Tovarish is getting as much damage in on this command tank as they can. Normally this might not be the best idea, but if Prince of Scotland actually lets them get this kill, being able to take out this command tank and remove its command aura from the battlefield this early into the match might not be such a bad idea. Now this Firefly is going to be on its own. Okay, it looks like Murphy and Scaffa coordinating the push here. Perfect field of fire. Up here, yep. 2 Knights Cross Holder squads from TovarishTanker are able to force Scaffa to retreat his infantry. So there goes this flank. This will come back under Axis control. But hopefully, these Knights Cross Holders are able to capture this territory and get back into the fight soon, because they are needed. Another Allied barrage does a decent amount of damage to these Grenadiers, forces them out of position, although really all it forces them to do is to move up and assault. Heroic charge out of these Knights Cross Holders. They're really able to force the enemy back. They took out the howitzer crew, so there goes the veteran howitzer crew. We'll see if they're able to take the gun itself out of the fight, or if the Allies will be able to recapture it. Another flare goes down, increasing the damage and the accuracy received by the Axis troops in the area. You can tell by the little red icon there. And that's very useful, and these Brens just cutting down these Grenadiers, forcing them back. Geschützwagen in the fight. Jackson's got an excellent defensive position here behind this house. He's able to grab cover as needed. And it looks like we've got a Sherman 76mm trading off for the Jackson. And hopefully he'll be able to get some sort of flanking shot off. Crossholders get a nice grenade barrage off. Another big Axis armored push in the center here. What else do you expect from a Blitzkrieg and a Terror Doctrine? The Firefly and the 76mm are turning them back fairly effectively. Although these Axis tanks are fairly beefy. And they're able to take a lot of damage, but not when they run over a mine like that. So Tovarish is forced to pull back with this one tank. He's going to trade off with this 50mm. And this 50mm is going to start engaging this Sherman. This Sherman might just be toast. There we go, out of control. And he's gone. Looks like this Panzer was able to be saved. Let's see if he can pull that back and repair it. More recon flares. That's really going to help turn the tide against these Grenadiers, although they were heavily outnumbered in this fight from the very beginning. I hear a fight up here, Panzer IV engaging infantry, and another Crocodile all the way in the back lines. Punkmaster has no choice but to respond to this. Looks like these Blau Grenadiers are going to get toasted. However, the King Tiger, which has not yet begun to repair, actually caught this Crocodile very out of position. And with one kill to its name, this Crocodile might just be about to go down. So that was... it wasn't a brilliant flank from Scaffa, but it was a brilliant attempted flank. But he just ran into some bad luck here. Now this King Tiger is going to, now having accomplished just a little bit more, will be able to pull back and repair in peace. Another artillery barrage out of Prince of Scotland lands right on the pack, taking it out. The goon gun just adds to the barrage. Another crew, this one up to 8 kills themselves. The Axis definitely control a bit of a bulge here, but it doesn't look like they have enough infantry to really hold the line. Meanwhile, Scaffa is doing what he does best and is trying to get a cheeky little cap off over here. Good thing this wire is going to keep him from at least going any further. And another capture with a one-man squad over here on this flank. Meanwhile, he somehow has the brain capacity to deal with an engagement in the center here. While Murphy moves up on some LMGs. He's going to try to grab this AT gun. Let's see if he's able to get it. Nope. It gets destroyed before it's able to engage. And it looks like this push is going to falter. The Allies just weren't coordinated enough on that one. That AT gun, unfortunately, was not able to get firing. But now that they have the relative safety of this Firefly's umbrella, of its 17-pounder. But the Geschützwagen is actually able to get a shot off. Good penetration on the Firefly there, and the Firefly does nothing in return. Murphy's taken a lot of hits here for his team, and it looks like they're using this time to reposition. Artillery barrage right up here. It looks like this is an Earthshaker barrage, a massive, massive barrage with a huge delay, but a massive area of effect and a very powerful ability. Now, the Allies were repositioning over here, as I mentioned. It looks like Scaffa has 2 full package Ranger squads that he just used to wipe out those Vokes Grenadiers, force those Grenadiers back, and they are going to be dominating this flank if they go any further. The infantry and the armored engagements continue in the center here. Neuville is beginning to look a little bit more like the surface of the moon with all the craters on it than an actual town. Again, Scaffa's moving up with these LMG and Bazooka Rangers. Has not lost a single model yet, which is excellent. Looks like a third one, a Vet 3 squad. Will they stay to engage? No, it looks like they're going to pull back. The Axis are concentrating a large amount of infantry here. This is where their thrust is coming in. This Staghound is going to be forced off by the armor. And this concentrated Axis armor is really going to let them do some damage here. But here were the Rangers, flanking just like I said they would. Getting in these rear armor hits. They're actually able to force the Axis into a very uncomfortable position and then hit them with artillery. So Scaffa pulled off a wonderful flank here, and now they are just liquidating this little pocket here. Although this King Tiger is not going to sit here and take this lying down. It's going to put a lot of damage on that Firefly. Let's see if the Firefly might just go down. This could still turn into the Axis' favor very easily. Although now this is how you kill a King Tiger. You isolate it just like this. That Firefly is going to have to run away, but this Jackson's going to try to get the damage in. Now up to 3 tank kills, not to mention a vehicle and an 8 infantry. Oh, Tovarish does not quite know what the Allies have. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so confident in his assertion. Another barrage, my guess, is a precision strike. Yeah, just like that. Right onto that AT gun, taking it out of the equation and opening up this avenue for all sorts of Allied armor. So Prince of Scotland is repairing his Firefly. Was able to get away. No kills yet. A decent amount of damage, but no kills yet. And already the repair is in use. Looks like Scaffa's going for a reposition on his stuff, while Scotland gets more troops in the fight. Another brief lull in the fighting, as everybody consolidates and repositions. Three Knights Crossholder squads out of X1 Alpha. So these guys are going to punch into somewhere and do a lot of damage. Wherever it is they decide to assault. Tavares sees the grenade, he's able to dodge it. And Scaffa knows this engagement is hopeless if he's not able to hit those Grens with a grenade, so he pulls a retreat. Saves that squad. Looks like Prince of Scotland's Bren infantry is going to start engaging these Grenadiers. If he engages from close range like this, this is going to get ugly. Oh, and there's the Goon Gun taking out 2 Grenadiers. And then they take out the Brens in turn. Here come the Knights Crossholders. This poor Goon Gun is going to be in a world of hurt. Yeah, the entire crew gets wiped out. The squad goes down, and the mortar does not even survive. 3 Panzerfausts, it looks like, onto this quad. And the Geschützwagen might just get the kill. Meanwhile, the Jackson trading with the Panzer IV up here. Knights Crossholders are assaulting this 25-pounder. They might just take it out. There's a Panzerfaust off on the 76mm. 25-pounders trying to get one last barrage off before it goes down. Panzerfaust in the rear of that Sherman. Takes out its engine. The Schutzwagen is intimidated, but he's ready to get back in the fight as soon as this barrage has ended. One more Knights Cross Soldier squad is still engaging this 25-pounder. Are they able to do it? If they can keep the gun between them and the tank, they might even be able to use it as cover. Yeah, their assault rifles are just tearing into this thing. The Sherman wants to run him over, but... oh, a rare shot actually takes out the 25-pounder. Good job indeed, Alpha. And these Knights Crossers are gonna get away. Well, one of them goes down, unfortunately. But they pop their med kits, they're gonna be healing back up and getting back into the fight. This Geschützwagen has done a serious amount of work for a Geschützwagen, right? They are the Geschützwagen, you heard them. Oh, excellent job recruiting this AT gun, Tovarish, but it goes down to a lucky Firefly shot wiping out. Oh, indeed. Oh, was it? No, it was the howitzer. He grabbed the howitzer thinking it was an AT gun, and oops, big surprise. Alright, another brief lull in the fighting. Axis still hold a serious territorial advantage. It looks like they're at max population. Tovarish is up to 42. Meanwhile, Skaff is down to 23. This is getting pretty desperate for the Allies here. Another Flammenwerfer out of Punkmaster. I guess this Flammenwerfer is just not quite able to do it. Gets 3 infantry kills, but that's not quite enough in my mind. Looks like somebody took a shot that missed, but took out a mine in the process. And large concentrations of armor are really defining these engagements. Another Flammenwerfer out of Punkmaster. Finally able to engage this allied infantry and really force them off, hopefully to protect these flanks. I hear more assault rifles right back here. And another artillery barrage coming down. A firestorm might just land right on top of this Jackson. Let's see.
Enemy unit down.
Does a decent amount of damage to the Jackson, but takes out this AT gun. So this King Tiger will once again reign unopposed in the center here. AT gun gets outright destroyed by the flames. We've got tanks jousting with each other. That 76 takes out the Geschützwagen, and that happens to be TovarishTanker's last unit. And TovarishTanker has to say, Gucking Pfafting. Well, we all been there, Tovarish, don't you worry. You're in good company. Flammenwerfer goes down. Another Axis vehicle out of the fight. However, this is a little less one-sided than you may think. The Allies are still losing population cap. They're down to 22. And the Axis have a King Tiger that, well, looks like it's just about to take out this Sherman. Oh, Sherman with a bunch of lucky bounces. Looks like Alpha's going to commit with this King Tiger. Oh, and another miss from the King Tiger, just barely. The pack sets up. First shot is a miss on this Bren. A hit on the Bren, Main gun destroyed on the Sherman. One last shot. And he just gets it off before backing behind the house. Now they've got to engage with this Bren. It's busy circling around their infantry. The King Tiger's slow turret rotation has really come into play here, but we get a hit, and there goes the Bren. Let's see if any of the crew survive. Yes, it's a recon section, and 3 men survive. Looks like they're going to pull back and try to get to safer territory. This Jackson is a little bit trapped by this King Tiger here. The Allies really don't have anything to oppose it at the moment. Firefly's coming in, but this thing is down to just about 100 health. So it can not really take any bit of a beating. They're going to have to be extremely careful there.
Meeting resistance!
But here we are way back here, these riflemen.
Pay attention!
They're going to get this last kill.
Enemy movement here!
Punkmaster also is taken out of the fight. It is just X1 Alpha at this point, but he's got 42 population to work with. He's got a King Tiger. He's got a territorial advantage. And Murphy was just taken out of the fight. The Allies have, well, just about next to nothing left themselves. Prince of Scotland has a Firefly with next to no health left, a 3-man recon squad, and a single sapper section. With a minesweeper, no less. Looks like these infantry are playing Ring Around the Rosie with each other, and they just missed themselves. Now this poor Azul squad is kind of trapped between 2 infantry squads and a Firefly. Meanwhile, Scaffa's Rangers are capturing the center here. And Alpha's holding this flank here, while Scaffa continues to pull up the back line. Now this behemoth, this King Tiger, is going to have to come back to actually respond to this. So Alpha needs to be very careful how he responds to these threats. He needs to pick and choose his engagements very carefully.
Germans attacking!
So he goes in on the Rangers, and he pops a tank shock, it looks like, but the Rangers are going to use a fire up, and they're going to try to get away. Now this one Grenadier in this house here is not going to be able to do a tremendous amount of damage, but he's got extraordinarily good cover. These Rangers are out in the open. He might actually be able to pick off a few models. The engagement continues over here. Knight's Cross holders sneaking up behind this Firefly. If they have a Panzerfaust, it looks like they do. Well, not one, not two. Two Panzerfausts go off, taking out the Firefly. So now that King Tiger has a lot less to worry about. Knight's Cross are going after the recon. And these sappers are just desperately trying to capture the back lines here. X1 Alpha is pursuing over here with one Knight's Cross squad, but he really needs to focus on recapturing these sectors. He just lacks the infantry necessary to capture all these sectors at once. He's got a little bit of population he's floating. I don't know if he notices. If he has anything else to call on, he can call it on now to try to turn this fight. 3-man, 4-man rifle squad going up against a single Knight's Cross holder. I'm not quite sure how that engagement's going to go. But it looks like the King Tiger wants to be a part of the fight. This is still anybody's game, and this KT is going to make sure you know that.
That's one more kill, Mark.
Unit lost.
Oh, the
Defended
KCH
the
takes
fatherland
a
until death.
bazooka shell right to the face and explodes violently. Oh no, turn your armor, turn your armor. And there's a rear armor hit from the Rangers.
Reporting effective enemy fire.
He's going to try to reverse over him. This is a very ballsy move. Let's see if it works. So far, they're not able to get a shot off. There's one rear armor hit, unfortunately. This Knight's Crossholder find and take out this last model here, but they need to recapture the sector immediately. And the rear armor hit on the King Tiger takes it out. It's a Hero Ranger squad. There we go. Excellent flank, Scaffa, and it looks like that's what's going to decide the game there. Although Alpha does come on with not one, not two, not three, but 4 Knights Crossholder squads. Where were these guys? We needed them. 30 population of Knights Cross on the field.
I am taking fire.
Cowards attack.
Looks like Prince of Scotland has another 25-pounder, a second one, that he launches at one of the Axis spawns, but accomplishes nothing.
Knights Cross here.
It looks like Alpha is splitting up his Knights Crossholder squads, which I would not recommend, but he does need to capture these sectors immediately. But you see, individually, these squads are just focused down one at a time. These full package Rangers are just able to put out a tremendous amount of damage.
They defended the fatherland until death.
And unfortunately for the Axis, that is it. They're given the command to retreat, and they need to get off the field immediately. Oh, the grenades!
Ready for target.
Can he save this one squad? Can he save these 2 squads? Can he save these 3 squads?
They defended the fatherland until death.
At this point, it's not a matter of winning or losing, it's a matter of just trying to get off the field in one piece. There's one more kill.
Redeploying heavy SG fire.
Oh, and he lets him go. Scaffa lets him go. He definitely could have gotten those kills. He could have wiped out both squads, but go in peace, he says. What a kind soul. And with those Axis troops off the field, that is going to be it for this game. All that remained was a handful of squads, just a little bit of infantry, and if things had gone slightly differently, this would have been anybody's game. Wonderful, wonderful match. Let's go check out the intel page. So here we are on the intelligence tab of the launcher for a quick debriefing. You can see here with the game being an allied attack game, the Axis did start off with a pretty sizable advantage, and the Allies were able to claw that away from them, but then the Allies themselves lost that advantage to the Axis throughout the game. You can see the Axis made very steady progress, anywhere from the 10-minute mark all the way to about the 40-minute mark. They were clawing back territory inch by inch, and they had almost 80% of the map at one point. That was when the Allies were down to about, 22 population it was? The big thing that really sealed the deal was TovarishTanker being taken out of the fight just a little bit earlier than everybody else, and that put the Axis in a very awkward 2 versus 3 situation that in and of itself did not cause a defeat, but it did start a little bit of a death spiral. You can see that Murphy was taken out of the fight not too long afterwards, so things evened up a bit, but then Punkmaster also fell off. And it was down to what was left of Prince of Scotland's infantry as well as Scaffa's infantry to get those final few kills and grab the final few sectors. Although the result of this game, this could have been anybody's game down to the last minute, as long as that King Tiger was still on the field. But really what it comes down to is Scaffa just having 2 or 3 squads of Rangers. Those full package Rangers with Veterancy 2, Veterancy 3 on them were just able to really deal with those nice crossholders, pick them off one by one, isolate them, take them out. And in doing so, he was slowly able to deny X1 Alpha's infantry advantage that he had with all those Knights Crossholders squad. Now, Alpha was in a very tough situation. Does he capture the territory, or does he eliminate the Allied infantry? And I'm not sure there was a winning situation there. I don't know that there was a winning move he could have played there. But with those Knights Crossholders getting picked off one by one, you can see towards the end here, nobody really had anything on the field, but even just 2 or 3 squads of infantry is going to be enough for you to cap out your enemy if they just do not have the resources to counter with you. Now, the Germans did have some very excellent armored plays the entire game. There is no denying that. I mean, you look at TovarishTanker, 11 vehicle kills. That is mighty impressive. But all that armor can't capture or hold territory itself. And so there was just a little bit of a lacking of infantry out of the Axis part in order to actually hold certain sectors. And that's, to some degree, you can give credit to Scaffa for being so excellent at backcapping, going on the flanks, capturing the rear territories, threatening supply lines, all that sort of thing. That's exactly what he did. And it all kind of added up to the totality of the match, where the Allies were just barely able to eke out a victory moments before they were wiped off the map themselves. So that was a really excellent game. Thank you again to the community for sending this on in. If you have any replays you'd like me to cast, send them in yourself. And I'd like to give, as always, a huge shout out to our Patreons who really support us, and they really help us keep things going. We're able to save up for new servers. We're able to save up for a little bit of advertising, maybe even getting a streamer or two to check out Europe in Ruins as well. So that's always a lot of fun. But really, we couldn't do it without you. If we didn't have this loving community, we wouldn't be here to do this. We're not doing it for our health. We're doing it for you guys. So thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for being there for us. And as always, I'll see you on in the next one.